Welcome, fellow armchair generals, to El Duce's War. This is Gamer1745 here, and of course this is the start of a new series of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.01, and we're playing as Italy. This is going to be a short series, not because I think I'm going to go down in flames quickly or conquer the world quickly. No. Just to let everyone know, the plan for this series is to fill the gap between the end of the last German series and the start of the next German series. Yes, we're planning on doing another German series. Hope you all won't get too tired of it. What's the plan? Plans are subject to change, but current plan is we're going to play this until Black Ice 9.1, this is 9.01, but 9.1 comes out, has its first, hotfix, either patch or upgrade if it's an all-in-one package or whatever, and all of the sub-mods, including like TRE and GGA and whatever, get released for the new thing, and it all, in my judgment, seems like it's stable for a long-run play like we've just had for the previous German series. And realizing a long run play can be 400 plus episodes, so that could be a year, playing the game for a year, you watching the series for a year. That's a daily episodes. So this has, when I say short, I'm thinking weeks. I've got word that at the time that I'm making the, well, actually before making this, the start of this, 3 weeks or so, maybe shorter, but the next version is coming out, but I'm planning on waiting past that, as I think you can tell, to make sure that things are very stable, things get released, and all of that good kind of stuff happens, and then we'll be starting it. So hopefully we can get somewhere with this series, and yeah, even if all those conditions are right, we're still in the middle, I don't know, of some battle or campaign, and we want to see how it comes out here. We very likely will continue with that. So let's get started with this here. And we have a lot of choices here. So we're going to go with economic spying. Going to go with economic boost, short term. We're going with the big truck driving by. Let's get the Black Ice there if you need to look at the website. Don't know if the website is still really helpful anymore. Things have moved on past it. We're going to give the 200 supplies to try to gain things a little bit there. Yes, we will recruit some African. Ooh, we'll wait a second on that. Okay. Let's do leader backstory. I find this to be immersive breaking, so we're going to skip all this altogether. I tried it out once before and it didn't really go for it. We're going to go with small fleet, but we're going to do no need. We're in a small war here. Now, national recruiting policy. I think we're going to go with my favorite, balanced approach. I don't think we need mass units. I just don't. I would wonder if I was going to play the Soviet Union, or maybe in a similar sort of nation that I just want huge numbers of units to spread across the whole front. I don't, so I'll go with that. Okay, now. Let's close these down briefly here. kick up the speed briefly. You would give them supplies in exchange for money. Maybe. Now, well, let's come back here. Sorry. Let's look at wartime measures. Here, we are at war with Abyssinia right now, so if we do this, we will gain a little bit of dissent, but I think there's some things that we can do to remove the dissent, opposed to no need. So we're going to do that. Let's use on the naval treaty, I don't know, let's come and do this here. We are going to start on normal. As you know, I'm not a, I don't know, min-max or power player or whatever. But as, don't know if I've said this, I've never really played as Italy before. Sure, I've turned on Italy and had the clock run a little bit and looked around a little bit, but never really played a game. So we're just going to go normal. I don't think we need to do easy or very easy. So we're just going to grab that. Now what I'm looking for here is, there we go, annual national focus. So let's see what we can do here. And it's personalized towards Italy. Regino d'Italia, I believe that means Kingdom of Italy. Yearly national focus. We can build a balanced Army, Navy, Air Force. We could build up the Regia Aeronautica, Royal Air Force. Forget the military for now. We need to build up the economy, build up the Regia Marina, Royal Navy, Italian Science, Italian health and education, Italian resources, or army focus. I guess they didn't have a good title for the army. Army focus. It just looks like it's coming off generic. We're going to go with I think the economy for now. Get more supplies. I'll do GFX. Yeah, because the war isn't going to be serious with Ethiopia, and I don't know if we're going to have. Going to be a while before we go to major war, I believe. So now we could boost quickly 10% on supplies or this. Now, unfortunately, this is only going to give us one factory till December 36. Okay, well, all right. Maybe that wasn't the best choice. Sort of why I was waiting for this here, because this will get us a brief knock. Yeah, we're massive money. And yes, to the front. Now, here, seaport level 1, yes, that will also hurt us out for a while. Mixed support brigades start. This decision will unlock decisions allowing you to customize your support brigades. Okay. Let's do these choices. We're going to go on normal allies, East Front, normal Soviets, German difficulty setting, normal Germany, Japanese. We're just doing normal. Hoping the AIs will be able to fight the AIs well enough. My mind, the idea for like hard China is for like if you're going to play as Japan and you want a challenge. Italy has enough of a challenge just to continue to deal with things. Okay, now let's get one of these. I think, yeah, they both go away, so that will reduce down our result. Okay, now motorized support choice, mixed support choice. Okay, we will start with motorized support choice. Okay, motorized support choice upgrades. Upgrades choice. Introduction. This event allows you to choose 4 upgrade groups for your motorized support brigades. Once chosen, they will be the only techs available for research. Each group can be selected only once. If you misclick or forget what you've picked, do not panic. There will be a redirection in a previous or to the previous step, and you can choose again. Warning: once you've completely done with this section, so after picking the 4th group, confirm that it's your final step. It will be impossible to change selected text later in the game, so plan carefully. Nice warning here. Well, let's take a quick look over here. Okay, this looks like what I remember. This looks basically like what I remember. So does this. Because yes, I know I did a startup or a setup guide for this, but I have not for 9.0 or 9.0. I haven't really gone in and looked. Okay, seeing what that again looks normal. What I'm used to from the 8.6 version, or however you want to say that. Okay, well, we've lost the stuff that was up there. The armor. That looks the same, but this has changed up here now. Okay. I have to go in and just see exactly which texts were up here. That this right offhand looks the same, but so it looks like it may be simplified. Engine choice and then light, medium. Okay, that looks the same. This was the so they moved the guns down here. Is what they've done. That's right. These were the gun. These now their guns are here. So this is different here. I think this was blank before. So what they've done is they've moved it from there to here. Okay, Monroe effect. The Monroe effect is the shape charge. It was Monroe, the guy who figured out about making shape charges. I guess I can go into it more detail, but don't need to hear. That looks like, well, short barrel, HE, high medium, high velocity, okay. High density alloys, dual purpose, okay. This looks very familiar. I think I click there and there. Those are looking the same. I like good changes. I guess I'm trying to how to place it, but I don't like changes just for change's sake. Just to be new or different. So I'm just looking through all this. Hopefully it's of interest to you to see what is going on. I didn't think the air systems were going to be. The big thing that made me look here was I was just seeing if which may be somewhere down here. Oh, mixed support there. We'll get to those. Yeah, we now no longer, CAG technologies are more integrated here with these ships. They're coming back, so that's sort of the downside of this version, in my opinion. Okay, so now, well, we did have the elite. Their special warfare focuses there, so that looks basically the same. Though they very well, when I say basically the same, I don't know if they're tweaking these technologies or anything like that from the last version. Okay, mixed support. Okay, so we have mixed support brigades, and we're currently getting ready. We're here to do mixed or motorized support brigades. Mixed support 2, armored support brigades, airborne support brigades. Okay, strategic, we did sort of look at air, That looks basically like I remember it. Command. I think I remember it. These are increasing or decreasing the size of units if you want to. What I am missing here. I don't know, did they roll? Okay, mountain. Okay, here we go. They've added it here. Special Forces, Mountain Unit, Amphibious, Desert Training. And so there's no longer a... actually, I like this better. Because as you can see here, Infantry Unit, Combined Arms, Unit Training, Command. Okay, so now there are some at least title changes here. But, well, I don't know so much. No, there really isn't. Never mind. You know, they had the unit training and command and control. So now they've just rolled, instead of having jungle unit training and jungle unit command and control, they've rolled it into one. I like that better. A little less to have to deal with. So, yeah. Now, before we go on, I want to come up here, look at production. And let's look at brigades. Yeah. That's a little bright for my taste, but okay. So you still, I'm presuming, have standard unit or specialty support units. And we just don't have as many as some of the German, especially later in the war. I presume we'll maybe be able to activate. But what we're talking about is these two units that can have these upgrades here, heavy artillery upgrade, rocket upgrades, or whatever. So that's what I'm understanding this new thing. And I know a bunch of you have already been playing this version just because I've been back playing 8.6. So I'm looking at this time we have specialized light infantry. Okay, so for motorized support brigades. One, I don't even know if I'm going to use these, though they could be included. I'm presuming once you get these things here, the ones you're allowed to which ones you're allowed to continue to upgrade. If you just have a unit given by an event, it'll match whatever it is we pick. And so that have it. Okay. Talking about motorized. I think we're going to go very, very sort of standard with some of these types of things. You know, anti-tank. You have 4. So let's artillery, anti-tank, engineers, motorized engineers brigade. Yeah. Though I'm presuming again, that could be wrong, but I'm presuming again that if it's like the Italians use packed artillery a lot. If we want, we can use a mixed brigade, though I don't know how well Italy would do this. If I was playing Germany or America, I could tailor my mixed support brigade here so that use like anti-aircraft and you know, artillery together, and possibly some of these other elements like and rocket artillery and whatever else like that, and then attach to every division a motorized, you know, a separate motorized engineering unit, so that you focus the engineer. You don't have focus in the engineers into the mixed brigade. So this could work out to be pretty good. So if you wanted to do something like always have engineers, whether it's motorized engineers or just I presume engineers here, or airborne engineers or armored engineers or whatever. You were always going to do that as a separate brigade. You would keep that out of the mixed brigade setup. I'm presuming that's the way they're thinking now. I want to come back and look. Here we are still, 9,000 men for an infantry regiment. That's obviously way too big. Most regiments / depends on how you organize what you call a regiment or a brigade. They are often the same thing or same, well, a regiment is designed to be a permanent organization, and I'm especially looking at this from a British standpoint because that's sort of my historical research element, but a sort of permanent grouping of battalions. Often in the British case, and historically, they weren't necessarily fighting together, but they had the sort of same officer corps, same recruitment pool, recruiting out of the same area, and sort of same traditions within that regiment. And so the different battalions within the regiment would do things where a brigade is often, well, it depends on what, because there's sometimes basically permanent independent brigades, but a brigade is more of a fluid formation made up of different battalions. So a combat brigade, you can within like a division, you could shift units around as you need them. If a particular infantry battalion has been seeing a lot of combat just in the last few days, shall we say, and you want to rest those troops, you would move that battalion to be under the brigade that's the reserve brigade for the division, and while moving up a different battalion, into that other brigade that's being active, or obviously you can just shift if it's the whole brigade's been active, a lot of combat and seeing a lot of activity, you just move that brigade from being a sort of frontline brigade to being the reserve brigade. Divisions, generally speaking, divisions are designed to be a 3-regiment, 3-battalion, or 3-regiment or 3-brigade fighting formation. Italy starts out this period right at about 36 and before with a like 4-regiment or 4-brigade, however you want to say it. I think it's regiment or whatever, but formation for the divisions. And then they go to, because they want to expand the size of the maneuver elements of the army, they cut it down to a 2-brigade per division. So they cut them in half. I think that's how they do it. I think that's it. I know they go down to 2, but I'm trying to remember whether they started out with 3. I may be confusing. Sorry, I may be confusing the U.S. Army going from a square division. Square divisions have 4. Triangular divisions sort of have 3. Later in the war, it's definitely found that the Italians are too weak. The divisions are too weak, and part of the thing is theoretically, again, if and the Italian army has great trouble keeping its units supplied during the war, with basic things like rifles, just having enough rifles. But basically, if they're all up at theoretical strength, is having a 2 infantry brigade division, you would have the same amount of artillery, the same amount of support trucks, so you have a lot more support behind those 2 brigades, so it's much more logistically heavy, which, if you have the motorized logistical industrial support behind it, say the U.S., well, that means the brigades are better supported. If you don't, and you're Italy, that means you're because you never fully support everything, things aren't very well supported, so you've made it weak. So Italy later on adds a fascist battalion type support element to most of the divisions to sort of try to bring them back mostly to a triangle division. And that, and we'll go, since we're talking about this here, hope it's interesting, that can be shown here by reducing brigade strengths here, so that see, this has strength increase, this would minus it, infantry decrease. So if we wanted to sort of match historical and type things, we would research that, so that that would bring the standard infantry regiment down from 9,000 manpower to 6,000 manpower. So that's, and still keep the single infantry regiment, but that's how it would match this up. So for motorized mixed support, let's go with artillery and anti-tank, so we can face up against units like the British and the Americans. Let's go with engineers. And I'm going to say anti-aircraft, because I'm thinking we can build reconnaissance, whether as motorcycles or recon cavalry types, as an independent thing, if we're going to be using mixed support at all. I'm not sure, but we can just attach a motorcycle type reconnaissance element. I think those will be cheap enough to build, because I'm looking at this. If we're going to, again, I'm not absolutely sure we're going to use this, but we're making the choice now. Motorcycle units are normally pretty fast and pretty cheap to build for ICs, and I'm looking at the limited ICs of Italy, so let's do that. So anti-tank upgrade, yes, picked. Okay, let me choose the second one. Artillery upgrade. Engineers upgrade. And anti-air upgrade. And if you picked all the motorized support to the last. Yes, let's go with this. So, now we have mixed support brigades here. And we're going to do, got more options, but we're going to do the same thing. Now those are German rad troops, or at least the guys on the motorcycles are. I don't know for sure who's in the trucks, if anybody. Probably drivers, I presume, but it could be supplies. The Arbeitsdienst, or whatever, the rads. Okay. So yes, those are sort of support troops. Let's start here. We're going to do the same thing, because sort of the cheapest way would be the, the reconnaissance cavalry type units. So anti-tank, yes. Pre-war American anti-tank unit. That's a 37 millimeter anti-tank gun. U.S. In the U.S. Army, they determined that the infantry should determine what the anti-tank gun should be, because that was going to mainly be an infantry element, as opposed to, they were, I guess, at the time, presuming that they weren't going to be they weren't going to be using too many towed anti-tank, like in armored divisions or something. So it was going to be an infantry unit, and the infantry's highest priority for the anti-tank guns were to be easily to be manhandled. At least that's from my reading. Highest priority is to easily be manhandled, as opposed to penetrating enemy armor. And this was developed in 1940, folks. 1940. basically after the fall of France, the U.S. Army decides, hey, tanks are really important and bad machines. We have to protect ourselves from them. And we've seen how the French war has gone. They got stomped. And we saw how presumably they had to have a few, and Britain was sharing intelligence with American military at the time in limited elements. Saw how the German 37mm anti-tank guns couldn't penetrate a Matilda, basically also couldn't penetrate a Char B. It only sort of knocked out the radiator engine compartment on one side, if that. Couldn't penetrate those two tanks, the heavy tanks sort of the war, and had difficulty penetrating things like the Salma and even some of the lighter or smaller two-man heavier armored French tanks. So then the Germans, of course, were going to be upgrading their tanks as they realized this stuff. But the U.S. infantry decided that, well, for planning for future, because we're just developing it now when we might go to war in the future sometime, and not like what we need today because we're at peace today, let's get an easily manhandled anti-tank gun, not worrying that much about whether it's going to be able to penetrate enemy armor. That isn't the biggest concern. The biggest concern is that it's easily manhandleable. Yes. Listen, folks, the U.S. Army makes huge amounts of massive, and is still to this day, massively bad decisions on weapons procurement, weapons design, and often sends in armies that are completely unprepared. And I say this because I look at this and see this in the American Civil War. I see this in World War I to some degree, though in some ways it actually did sort of better at the start of World War I. World War II, and I can look at Vietnam, and I can look at even again to some of the modern day stuff. The U.S. Army as a military political, I don't mean like Democrat or Republican or socialist or capitalist. I mean just sort of the politics of the military within inside of how it works, is really the upper levels in the Pentagon, and even before that, before the Pentagon existed, so it came about post World War II, sort of just post World War II. It was before the War Department. Really had god-awful political infighting and political decisions. So the second group is going to be artillery upgrade. Good. And so we're going to be stuck with that. Yes, we know. We're not going to do assault gun. We're going to do engineers, because that way we can get across rivers and such. And the last one here, we do have, but I'm just presuming, though I don't know, if we were to do something like assault gun upgrade, which would be, I presume, sort of like for Germany, to do, historical, obviously other nations can do this, you can pick that, or infantry tank upgrade. I don't know whether that's modeled on the French light infantry tanks, the Renault 35s or the Hotchkiss 35s, the little two-man kind of things, or whether that's the British Matilda big heavy infantry tanks, or whether those are the Italian CV tanks, CV-33s. Those are the tankettes, and that they just have machine gun, two machine guns on them, no turrets, type upgrade. I don't know what, when you say infantry tank, I can picture all three of those things being presumed by an army being infantry tanks. Different ways of going, but I'm presuming like that, or the amphibious armor upgrade. Those would make these mixed support units more expensive to build than otherwise. I'm just guessing here, but we're going to pick anti-air upgrade. Like I said, we're going to use recon as an independent. Yes, last step, and we will be done. Okay, and Spanish Republic, we would give them supplies for money. Sure. Now, at the moment it says we don't need reinforcements. moment it says we don't need consumer goods, probably because we're at war or something. Now, well, not that we can really afford either of those two things, but let's move the submarines up top. We can't afford, well, let's the moment lock that. We want to be able to both sell supplies and supply our current army. More important, like I say, Italy had a massive problem throughout the war in just supplying its basic army needs, like rifles. Not that Germany eventually didn't have those problems too. They never made enough rifles. But the German army was expanding, doing all kinds of big things. So we're going to do industrial efficiency and this. We can't afford more than one, and we may not even do that much. We're gonna no espionage. We can't afford that at the moment. Diplomacy. Let's go down also to 1.5. Oh no. We just might want a little bit of. Here we go. A little bit of diplomacy. We are currently at 100% officers, so that's pretty good, but we're going to come down, I think, to there for the moment. So we let's look at production. Still need more coal, it looks like. Well, so let's come here and do coal processing. Supply production, that will be helpful. These are too far ahead to start right now. Radio detection equipment. Basic education investment, that's something we need to do early. You always want to do something like this early because if you're ever going to do it, you do it early so that it will have its biggest impact. Because you do it, say, in 1940, you've missed 4 years of its bonuses, of whatever it would be, bonuses of industry, because we're having, again, such problems. We're going to do that. Defense land, defense engineering allows construction of fortresses. So we can't even build fortresses right now. Let's do that. That sounds like fun. Learn how to build fortresses. We only got light. Let's examine that. Now come down. Let's look at aircraft types. Ooh, single engine airframe. Let's do that. Get that up to a little better standard. Now, as you know, delays between attacks are a big thing for me. Let's do that. We can upgrade these as time goes on. Now that we've picked those, we don't yet have the ability to do that. Don't know if that's because we're Italy or what. Okay, we don't even, we're way behind on basic small arms, so let's get these going as well. So there we go. Now, you're at war. War, bloody war. Wow, we've got lots of forces down here. Okay. Let's look for victory provinces. Just basically, we hold these two and we take Abyssinia and we win. Or Addis Ababa, the capital, we win. Okay. Oh, good. We have a light armored unit with colonial militia and camel train. Okay. Well, it means it's not going to be speedy, but at least it's armor. It's not even colonial. Oh, and I'm taking this to be quite historical, quite honestly. It's these guys that basically get broken up and put into regular divisions. Partially, I think, on the idea that you know, that like sort of the SS was, in the sense that they're politically reliable, where the army was I do actually believe, and seemed to be as well, a royalist institution, if you will, as opposed to a fascist institution. Now, I would also say the army, and yes, we may very well have some Italian viewers here, but I will say the army was leadership was rather incompetent. So that's part of how I look at any of this stuff. Okay, well. We would give them supplies in exchange for money, Turkey. Okay, good. Now, Turkey really disliked us at this time. Okay, sort of waiting for that. Okay, seaport. More money. Great Depression effects. We have lost. Good. Oh, we should have waited for that. When we've lost the effects, we should have waited for that too. Please take note. We should have waited for that before we picked that economic focus thing, because that would have massively had increased our this is sort of a little faulty thing element in my opinion, number of factories at that starting thing. I should have waited for this. Fascist militia brigade, poorly armed and composed of politically indoctrinated volunteers from various nations. Fascist militia units played a key role in the war behind the lines, fighting partisans. Yes, we want fascist brigades. We're gonna keep maximum. We're Italy. We need whatever we can get. Creation of battle commanders. Great news. Canone Naval Italy planned a class of 4 dreadnought battleships to succeed 2 ships of the Andrea Doria class to be armed with 381mm 15 inches guns to match the British Queen Elizabeth class. The Italians ordered 30 guns in 1913, 10 each from Alessandro Schneider, Armstrong, Pazzoni, and Vickers Terrini. Now, just to give you a little background, Alessandro is Schneider, if I get this correct, is a French arms and artillery company primarily. I know that Schneider built one of the early World War I tanks. It had sort of a pointing, sort of a square box with sort of a pointy nose, tracks that didn't go all the way over the top. You know, the sort of the British Mark IVs or whatever you sort of thing, but it didn't have a had sort of a barrel stick, you know, a cannon barrel sticking out the front. Didn't have any turrets. That was the Schneider. And Alessandro, sorry, I'm probably pronouncing it, was one of the major Italian arms companies. So I'm presuming this is a cooperative venture. Alessandro built a lot of the tanks and armored cars for Italy during this period. Armstrong, and this is back in 1913, so things change by the time you get to 1936. But Armstrong was one of the major British naval builders, and Vickers was another one of the major British naval builders. And I'm most familiar with them as Vickers Armstrong because they combined. I don't know which one bought who or whatever, but Vickers Armstrong. So I don't know Turini or Volney. I presume those are local Italian companies here supported by them. Subcontractors. Okay. No need or... Well, it doesn't look like it cost anything. Ooh, well, they may be putting in a production queue. Oh, we'll take it. Just, I'm not going to take a bunch. Oh, not into the production queue. Good. Convoy raiders, yes, create them. Coal rationing, no. I'm thinking scrap metal drive, no. Oh, petrol rationing, no. I'm just... We're activating military grade trucks, have less attrition and better movement bonuses than civilian vehicles. Okay, so we get those. Scripted invasions, yes, we will allow those. Where is our... So I'm guessing that these here, okay. These, I guess, are thought to be pre-built before the period, so we don't have to pay for them, so that's cool. Yes, okay. These are our... Let's put in a skill. Okay, we don't have very many. Guess we're going to need to play with some of the made-up ones. I presume they're made-up ones. But let's... Looks like 2 is standard. We'll go down with a... 1 for the colonial militia. That's a fascist. Let's not do that. Let's... I think he's fascist. Yeah, black shirt. This guy. And we now have, because we've lost the Great Depression effects. Okay, good. Again, I really messed that one sort of start up, so this will be better. Let's do medicine, get past 1900. And if you look at, say, the World War I Italian Army medicine was pretty poor. I think we can afford to do these start now. But we want to come over here and some of that sort of. Well, let's get aero engines. Then we also have some of those. Got some transport planes already, so that's good. Tractable undercarriage. Okay, now we will do now. You even look at a lot of U.S. Army design aircraft, or U.S. Navy and U.S. Army Air Corps designs for aircraft. In this period, you see a up until like 1940, a lot of basic fighter types, not just bomber, like Stukas, which maintained it through to the end, but yes, mountain troops or research. Italy had a lot of mountain troops. Italy, if you look at it, is both made up of mountains around through here, and for its primary, at least 2 biggest threats land-wise, Germany, whether it's the old Holy Roman Empire Germany, that then sort of morphs into the Austrian Empire, if you will, the Habsburg Empire, if you will, because it also takes on like Spain and other things, but which does, they did like take out a lot of these land threats, and then later, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, then into the German Nazi Empire, Germany was the big threat there, and France was also a long-term big threat as well, even though they recently have been allies. But your main invasion routes are covered by mountains, so a lot of basic Italian infantry divisions, basically most of them had a mountain gun unit as part of their artillery, partially because mountain gun ammunition is smaller, lighter, because just takes less to their lighter guns, so they're smaller ammunition, so it's cheaper to manufacture. It is also cheaper and easier to move. You want it that way to be able to move it up and down a mountain, but even moving it other places, it is easier. So that they use these mountain guns to supplement regular artillery because they didn't have enough of it. A good chunk, a very good big chunk of throughout the war of Italy's sort of medium artillery is actual World War I surplus, or whether it's not really surplus, but guns from World War I, not copies, not modern makes of outdated equipment styles, but actual World War I guns that they were using up until the collapse of Italy in frontline first-rate divisions. So I'm not just talking, garrison division, whatever, sitting off doing nothing. I'm talking about regular sort of infantry divisions are still equipped with the same guns from World War I, which Germany has entirely replaced. Their basic medium, if you will, artillery piece of World War I is the 77mm gun, which Germany did not really use in World War II. The 77mm caliber, they were using 75mm caliber. They did caliber convert some of their old guns, and they still, in some of the fortress type, Atlantic Wall and some of these other things, did mount in some of the 77mm guns, and so they did use some, but those were very much a third-rate type unit that was getting actual World War I gun leftovers. And they did, because for World War I reparations, they did give out some of these 75mm guns, as well as other calibers of their guns after the war to, various countries that, was on the winning side. Often those guns and the ammunition that was given to these other nations weren't used because it wasn't their standard calibers, their standard weapons, so they were warehoused, both the guns and the ammunition. And when Germany, whether reasonably peacefully, like in Czechoslovakia's case, or more violently came in and occupied them, like as in Yugoslavia's case, they reacquired the old surplus equipment and put it into their stuff. So that's a very different thing. So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking at Italy and what its use of equipment were. So they just didn't have enough regular medium, if you will, guns. And of course they also wanted the mountain guns just to get them around the mountains, to get that artillery piece up, in a high, good, overlooked position, where the regular artillery pieces are down in the valley firing in support. So it was both a practical combat reason as well as a practical industrial reason for maintaining the use of mountain artillery in regular service. But since we are going to be faced with mountains around, and we're going to have some mountain units, I think that's a good idea. Well, yes, let's, even though this may also be a bit more, we're going to do reconnaissance, I think. Well, and we're going to do, just get that even basically set up. Okay, we're going to entirely ignore the fleet carrier type stuff. We're not even going to build them. We don't have the... Okay, and now here, which is something weird, cavalry exploitation, stormtrooper tactics, which those are of course the World War I, attritional warfare. I might have given them level 1 attritional warfare from the World War I. Rolling artillery barrages, they don't even have those yet. So, we go. Ah, Germany. Not you. That just really surprises me, quite honestly, guys. I'm just never used to seeing Germany ask for something. I'm always playing Germany. Yeah, you're supposed to always. Okay, Germany giving it. We would give them fuel each day in exchange for a lot of money. Okay, we're gonna accept that. Now, we're going to do light aircraft, gasoline engine, cast armor, I think. Diesel engine, air build, heart attack. Armor speed is slowed up. Heart attack. Build speed. Yeah, although Italy really did not do. A picture of some of the late war. Really did not do any cast armor. It just did not. One of the armored car types did have was some cast welding. They were mostly riveted. That's how, again, how both this is both a practical thing, because this will light aircraft builds up aircraft build speed, keeps it cheaper, apply throughput comes through a little better, and armor build speed is sped up. Heart attack, so it's both a matching better the historical thing, but helps us in a practical sense so that it's quicker to build some of these units. Autarky for our economy, no, we can't afford that. Reorganize the war ministry. Okay, recruitment, organization, illegal printing, national revolt risk. See, we have mostly a chance to have bad things happen to us here. Supplies and money down. Parliamentary issues, dissent, change, ruling party support. We're going to take the hit to recruit time at this point. And not now. We are at war, but again, I think we're just going to survive through this. And now we also need, which I haven't really done, let's look at ministers. Okay, foreign ministers, Count Ciano or El Duce, ideological. Okay, they're the same stats, so we'll just go with that. Armaments minister. Benito Mussolini. Oh, well, there's a unique. No, he's just a resource industrial. So, we have Guido Young, administrative genius, national money, construction practical delay, land organization. Yes, we'll go with that. Minister of Security, man of the people. Both man of the people, so it doesn't matter who we have in charge. That's sort of the problem with some of these. Without having, and I'm so used to playing with Third Reich events, it doesn't matter. The faces are just, and names are almost unmeaningful. Who do we currently have? Okay, industrialized seas. Yeah, that's head of intelligence. That's who we want to do. Okay, that's who we can change. These, I presume, are just either ones we can't replace because of settings, or they may be the only possible person here, so that there's no, not that we can't replace them, there's just no point in replacing them. Okay, we currently have a war economy, which we're gonna have to change once we go to peace, I believe. So yes, And we would give them money for metal. I thought we had more than enough metal. Okay, well we don't. Well, we did bump up in okay, well, we're going to end the episode here, and we're going to continue next episode. I want to thank you for watching the videos, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hopefully this series and others will be fun. And also like the episode if you would. Hit the like button. And please post comments, questions, ideas, suggestions. If you post them fast enough, maybe we can get to them. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.